So the meeting has been recorded and you should be able to have the video after the session. So my name is Krishna Chodipelle. I work for Leadership Tribe and I have a title called Chief Storyteller. My job is not only to tell stories, but tell the truth, the facts, observations, lessons learned, not only to the clients who we are working, but also the people who we train, mentor, and coach. And one of the primary objectives of Leadership Tribe is we support various leaders and organizations globally. And while we are doing this, we have tools, techniques, and various skills to drive value and bring change. When we talk about change, it's funny. In everything and anything we do, is we want to get better in get better, even by 1 degree over a period of time. It's a big, long change that will take time. So what is value according to the participants? What is value for the clients? That you need to understand the value first. Depending on the value, depending on the problems, depending on the challenges you're facing, you need to use the right tools, techniques, and even there's various frameworks out there. So we want to give those tools back to the community where we share the wisdom of the tribe and also create an environment where learning sticks. It's funny when people come into the training programs for 2 days, or if it's a part-time, they come for four sessions, like 4 hours a day. And over a period of time, after the training, the excitement dwindles down day by day. And give it a week, everything goes back to normal. So how do you create the sticky learning environment to build those high-performing teams? That's what we specialize in, and that's what we want to give back to the community. So the better, it's not only you getting better as a leader, as a coach, but also bringing up the maturity of the organizations or the teams you work, as well as the community you're working with. That helps to bring change faster. And it also helps you to learn better. There are some small rules for the Zoom manifesto. Call it the social contract. We are here to learn together. Use the chat window to reply to the panelists and attendees. The deck and the webinar will be sent to you after the session. And we also have a Q&A. And this session is for 45 minutes to 60 minutes at the max. And that's about it. So before we start, let me check in to see if you have any questions. Hari, you're saying that Krishna, your voice is coming very low. Let me see if I can increase any sort of volume from my end. Looks like we are good from my end, but if you're still having challenges, please give me a shout. I'll be more than happy. Okay, we are talking about surfacing and working with conflict. Before we can talk about this topic, I have few questions. First of all, what is a conflict? And what is the common place for a conflict? Type it in the chat window, please, where you can select panelists and attendees. So what is conflict according to you? And what is the common place for a conflict? Where do these conflicts happen? At work. Type it in the chat window, please. Miscommunication, disagreements, okay? Difference in opinions, again, disagreement, misunderstanding. Conflict to me would be a failure to cooperate, okay? If there is a very aggressive person, I don't want to work with them, okay? That's understandable. How to do something, places how to do something, okay? Different concepts, not agreeing during any part of the day, planning sessions, Cold War, don't want to talk, the silent treatments. Yes, Santana, there will be, okay? Not willing, not matching the thoughts, maybe the miscommunication, for example, is all your own, difference in opinions or struggling, shared resources, ways of working, which may lead to heated situations, different motives, where it exists, difference between expectations and outcomes, different perspectives, egos. Wow. That's a great information, great data, great data. Thank you very much for sharing that information. One of the things what I do love about Dilbert is it's so sarcastic, so true, and so fun. What I've seen in most of the conflicts is when people are having a conversation. It can be with meetings, it can be on the office floor, it can be for various things which happened in the past, or sometimes at the given moment as well. In meetings, according to Dilbert, he talks about, according to Einstein, time flows more slowly in meetings than it does in empty space. So that's because people are dense. Is that true? For you, it is. It's funny, Dilbert has some really interesting thoughts on meetings, and I agree with him. And what I've also observed is some of the conflicts happen in mostly in meetings. And how much time do we spend? Approximately 30% of our time we spend in meetings. And working with various clients and teams and organizations, what I observed is some of us love meetings and some of them they hate it with passion. Some don't like them because they don't like them. Some even despise them. It's like it's a waste of space, waste of time. And some of the reasons is they are boring, too much lack of focus, time goes so slow, often ends without a meaningful resolution. This is what I've seen in meetings. What are the other things have you observed in meetings? Let's look at what is conflict, where does it happen, and some of them happen in meetings. What are the other reasons these meetings, we hate meetings? Type it in the chat window, please. Someone monopolized the conversation, arguments, a lot of creators making friends. Never ending on time, lengthy discussions, focus your idea, no agenda to start. No focus, derailed discussions, waste of time if agenda is not common interest to all. Not everyone can participate because of relevance or interest, divergence to the goal, one person monopoly, internal politics, information exchange can easily go off on tangent, evening calls, ungodly hours. Some people just love talking, they don't want to listen, but they want people to listen to them. Unrelated participants. Very true. Very true. Very true. All right. Let's look at this. Are conflicts negative? Are the conflicts negative? Type it in the chat window. We got no, no, it has some positive outcomes also. Not necessary, no, not always. Depends if egos are bruised, not always. No can be constructive. Conflicts have nothing in difference in perspectives. Not always, sometimes. It depends on preparation, not always. So most of us are leaning towards it can be positive, but if it's managed properly. When you're looking at a conflict, yes, they do occur between two or more parties when they have mutually exclusive goals, when two or more perceptions are incompatible with each other. And sometimes they have deliberate behaviors and not accidental, because some people bring up whatever happened in the past, they bring those memories into the meeting and they ruin the present. And sometimes conflict can be latent, not overt, generally overt. And we do know that conflicts are not always negative. Conflicts are not always negative because it opens up an issue which has been not spoken to. Because sometimes these initiate growth. It involves problem solving over quality. It avoids a group thing. When you have difference in opinion, there is a group, it avoids the group things and fosters creativity and innovation when they have a common goal to achieve. And on the other side, yes, conflict creates the tension between two parties or a group of people as well. It destroys the morale. It there is a diversion of energy. Sometimes we know what really matters, and somebody throws in a wrench in a discussion. It gets dispersed. And sometimes it deepens the differences as well. Sometimes it does. It leads to instability and chaos. Irresponsible behaviors creates enemies within, and it has polarization of attitudes and positions. This is the effects of conflict. There is a positive side, there is a negative side as well. So what should we do about it? What should we do about it? Andrew Nolan is one of a really amazing management consultants. So he talks about to seek the truth or hide your head in the sand, both requires digging. So you need to dig what is the underlying reasons before you can start getting a fire hose to reduce the conflicts or reduce the tensions within the team. So one recommendation I have is surface the conflict and allow the drama to happen in front of you. What do you mean by drama? What do you mean by drama? Some people do ask me. These are some tips. When we go into a meeting, there is always an agenda. An agenda is something what we need so that we can focus on. An example of a typical meeting opener is, let me try this. This was one from one of my meetings. So there was a person, the leader came into the meeting and said, all right, people, we are 12% over budget. And from what I can tell, we are spending too much money on travel. Going forward, we need to have a better controls and monitoring so that we can meet the corporate guidelines laid out in the budget. That's one way of opening a meeting. There is another way as well. I call it a hook. Okay, everyone, we are here to talk about cutting expenses, which doesn't sound like much fun. But consider there are plenty of people out there who have vested interest in the way we spend our money. Our competitors are hoping we throw our money around carelessly. And if they are certainly looking for ways to reduce their own unnecessary expenses. Our customers don't want to pay higher prices for our products to cover a lack of discipline. Our families would rather see more money in our paychecks than our travel and entertainment budget. So let's dive into this issue with a sense of urgency and focus, because I certainly want to make sure that we are using the resources in a way our investors and shareholders intended. This is called a hook. So setting the right tone of voice really helps the meetings to go much further. What is the outcome we are trying to achieve? I call this as a hook. And Patrick Lencioni has written an amazing book called Death by Meeting. I would recommend you to get a copy of it. Have a look, read it, and see what you can have some takeaways from it. And if there are conflicts which happens, you need to mind for them. When you have a group of intelligent, motivated, diverse people who are passionate about everything they do, they seldom agree on matters very quickly. It's common, it's quite natural. It's quite natural for innovation to happen. It's quite natural for the innovation to happen. So if you ignore this kind of conflicts with these amazing people coming together to drive some value, what would happen? Type it in the chat window, please. What would happen when you got a group of great people trying to work together? They have a difference in opinion and they have a conflict, because you know for a fact if you're able to overcome them, there is magic. If you don't address it, what would happen? Type it in the chat window, please. So there will be chaos. What else? Disaster. You would learn more. You may end up settling on the wrong approach, lack of alignment. Loser will invest in failure, personal clashes between alpha personalities, no innovation, no outcomes, lack of efficiency, motivation issues, long-term burnout, derail the meeting, backbiting, polarize participants. So at that moment of time, who is responsible to bring the world together? When you have these amazing people on disagreeing on a topic where they know, facilitator, the meeting host, the person who is in the middle of the entire meeting. If you When you're facilitating, you are in the middle of it. You're in the middle of the chaos, the storm. You're in the middle of it. So it's you. Some people call them team coaches, some people call them leaders, some people call them agile coaches. Whatever the title is, the facilitator has the responsibility. The other thing which I also like to do is giving real-time permission. Sometimes I've seen people are reluctant to challenge each other in active debate. So what really helps is at the start of the meeting, you may announce saying that this topic is to drive some conflict, and the meeting members are encouraged to debate and challenge one another. At the start of the meeting, create a social contract in such a way that people have been given a psychological safe environment where they can have that open discussions. That's your turn. As a facilitator, it's your responsibility. And there are different ways of resolving conflict. There are different ways of resolving conflict. On the y-axis, you can be very assertive. On the x-axis, you got the cooperativeness. So there are five different strategies of avoiding conflict. One is you can ignore it, walk away from it because you can't be asked, can't be bothered. And one of these extreme end, you can be completely competing. You got two people who are quite assertive, they'll be competing against the ideas. And sometimes if you got two cooperative people, they will be accommodating in everything you say. But what will be the right approach? The right approach is having the right mixture where people are collaborating. And for that, as a facilitator, you need to bring people together so they can compromise on some of the things where they're collaborating and seeing the value by having those meaningful discussions. So yes, there are many different ways of resolving conflict. But the most important thing is, as a facilitator, what tools, skills, frameworks you need to use to bring the people along. Okay, so we looked at conflict, what causes conflict, where do conflicts happen, and some tips on it. But in the meetings, you also have individuals. These individuals, some of them have dysfunctional behaviors. So if you heard about a dysfunctional behavior, give me an example. Type it in the chat window, please. If you heard someone say, they're having dysfunctional behaviors, give me an example of a dysfunctional behavior, please. Type it in the chat window. Lack of trust? Not interested? It's a boring meeting, so I can go on my mobile phone. Not attentive, negative body language, can't be asked. Allegations? Absence of trust? Blame, shame, blaming, not focus on goals, fear of conflict. Wow. I wanted to be aware of few personas. These personas some of them can be very dominating, and some of them can be very influential, and some of them, they want steady, they want peace in what they want to do, in everything they do, and some of them can be compliant in everything they do. So these are different aspects of a DISC model. So if you have some time, please Google a little bit more on what is DISC, and try to understand. There are some amazing tools out there to understand what is your DISC profile as well. If you have an opportunity, sign up online. There are various websites, free websites, and some are paid as well, to understand what is your DISC profile, your persona. In the meeting, some of them can be dominating. They'll be like, are we done yet? When can we move into actions? They are quite strong. They want commitment. They're action oriented, and they want to do stuff. And sometimes they can be so dominant, they can shut people down in the room as well because of their overbearing energy. Some of them can be too workaholic. I can't be in this meeting. I have so many things on my plate. I can't be asked. Why am I even in this meeting? And some of them, this will never work. This option will never work. In my last 10 years of experience, I've never seen it work. Sometimes these people, they are quite overtly cautious, and they tend to bring out some energies. But if you're able to dig deeper, what are their concerns? What is making them cause it? They might be a great supporter as well. Some people are too cautious, and some people, it's all about data. It's all about data. And someone can be a silent Sarah, or the snarky people who don't want to talk in the meetings, but they love to talk in the corridors of the meeting. Some of us have these personas, or if you can think of some of your friends or your colleagues, they have these personas. Let's stop talking about your friends or colleagues. Which persona do you relate to? Type it in the chat window, please. But by the way, there is no right or wrong. And let's see which one you relate to. For me, I am the analytical Anil. So who are you? So Badri says, I, analytical, cautious, A. Okay. In some of you are influential. Some are compliance. Okay. In this webinar, we have different people joining in from various parts of the world. And as participants, you all know that you have different personas. And each persona has the strengths and the weaknesses as well. And remember, when you're going into a meeting, when you're facilitating those hard conversations, you will have those personas in those meetings as well. And it's okay. You need to tell yourself, if you got a dominating person or an influential person or a compliant person or even a steady person, it's okay. So when you have those personas, you can work with them. Some people who are too analytical, sometimes I work with the dominating Don and say, Dom, what do you think about it? We talk too much about it. Let's take some actions. Okay, so can we use the personas in the room to drive the value? Maybe. The answer is yes. You can help people to achieve their goals because they have the strengths. You know what works. Can we use them as a facilitator? I want you to think about it. I want you to think about it. And the next thing for a facilitator is also need to understand about the 5 dysfunctions of a team, or a 5 dysfunctions written by Patrick Lencioni. Amazing. What really helps is about providing context with a structure. Providing context with a structure. For coaches, leaders, facilitators, this is something which I've seen. Absence of trust really derails the conversation what you are having with the team members. For that, I would recommend you to go first. Set up a safe environment as part of when you're working with your team members. It can be not in a meeting or outside the meeting. What is a social contract? What are good behaviors? What are bad behaviors? How are the team members going to work with each other? How are we going to leverage? Creating an environment really sets the foundations, and the foundations of trust, basic trust. And one of the things is fear of conflict. People want to avoid conflicts. It's too much hassle. Can't be asked. I got so many things on my plate, and I go into a meeting to listen to this shit. People can't be asked. When you can't be asked, the innovation goes out of the window. Conflict really helps to drive when you have difference in opinions, sometimes you tend to come some amazing ideas. And how do you mine for conflict? Opening those issues publicly and coming up with some practical solutions and getting inputs from everybody, using the wisdom of the crowd. And when you feel politics has been played in the air, talk about it. That sounds very political. Why are we talking? Why are we playing political games in the way we are doing it? So be open, transparent. And for that, you need to speak the truth. That's all you need to do. It's not your perceptions, it's the facts you need to address. You see discrimination in the team. Sometimes it can be about people with disabilities, people who suffer from dwarfisms, like I don't know what it means, are people who have a different sexual preference, people who are men or women. These kind of things, you need to stand up. I'm not asking you to give a fight. Speak the truth. These are your observations. What do people feel? When you feel these kind of things, that's amazing. Talk openly. So at the same time, when people are going through the lack of commitment, it's not my problem, that's somebody else's problem. Developers finish testing, writing the code, throw it over the fence to the testers. Testers, your job, deal with that problem, not mine. Your job is to test. It's not about that. As a team, developers, testers, they're all developing value. How do we work together to deliver something value for our clients? It can be working in the marketing teams, having that kind of a commitment. What is our goals? Why do we exist as a team? That creates commitment. The clarity matters. And by having the North Star or the goal, the vision, helps people to engage towards that goal. And sometimes when you have a lack of accountability, you need to, as a facilitator, as a leader, as a coach, you need to confront with difficult issues. Some of them can be related to the compliance, some standards, the way we deliver the work. And if there are some poor performers, some people are the slow learners, some are amazing fast learners, and some people are maybe they're not at the right um, role. You don't even know, some of them are not in the right role. They've been thrown in because they don't have enough, they have enough people. We need to reduce the cost. They moved into a separate project, and some people might not be in the right role as well. And when you have those challenges of people not being not paying attention to the results, this is where you need, the role of a leader and a coach comes in, talking about the collective outcomes, focusing on the collective outcomes, what is in it for us that will help us to deliver better than what we were doing. So for that role, you might be, when you got a brand new team, you might be teaching as a facilitator. How are we going to work together? Sometimes for you to facilitate creating a social contract, you might be facilitating. When people are going through challenges, as a subject matter expert, you might be giving them different options. And sometimes you will be playing the role of a coach as well, teasing information, helping them to come up with their own options to overcome the challenges. So there are multiple roles you play when you're working with the teams. So at the same time, when you talk about a conflict, does it happen overnight? When you talk about a conflict, does it happen overnight? Type it in the chat window, please. Does it happen over nothing? Or does it happen because of the past? Type it in the chat window. Do conflicts happen overnight? Wow. So we got some really amazing mixed answers here. This is brilliant. I think usually some past experiences, series of events, mostly with past experience, it depends. No, it's a progression most of the time, accumulates over time. Yes, overnight when finally someone starts talking. I love it, Manjuri. I really love it what you said. Past perceptions, conflicts can happen overnight because wrong perception. In general, no, but mostly some progression of time. So when I talk about conflicts, the only best person to know is you when you're in the middle of the storm. When you're in the middle of the storm. And for that, I have a recommendation. The recommendation is more of a question. Are you being mindful or mindful? Because these aspects do play a very important role. It's communication, the way you communicate. It's not what you say, is how you say. For example, have you told your friend, shut up, yeah, shut up, man? Or you said, shut up. The same content can be said differently, depends on the tonality, your pitch, the way you work with. And one thing which I've also seen is measuring the employees' work. With COVID, some of us are working from home. And I've seen people, they want to track when the person logs in, when the person logs out, even for the breaks, they want to maintain a track. Is it because we don't trust our employees? When as a leader, if you're tracking everything, because these kind of metrics can drive wrong behaviors. So there is a lack of trust from the leadership. If there is a lack of trust from the leadership, what do you expect from your employees, the people you're working with? Will it be the same trust? Yes, the company culture does play a role. Culture is amazing. As an organization, the organization has its own culture. If your organization has multiple offices or various regions, for example, I work with a client, they have offices in India, China, of course, they have offices in more than 60 countries. Does the culture of the country play a role? Yes. What about the cultures, the regions they come in? People, I work with some teams where they come from various parts of the country, and they create this microcultures. They create these microcultures. As a leader, facilitator, how are you able to support them through the journey? Because coming up with a different dialect, coming up with a different region, coming up with a different taste, these people are coming together, individuals, they're trying to work as a team. Can a leader say, yeah, it'll work, let them deal with it? Or do you need to work a little bit more so you can set them up for success? This is a question I have for facilitators and leaders. Language plays a role as well. The vocabulary in one country can mean something different in the other country. I have faced it myself. So be cognizant about the vocabulary they use. And yes, in the virtual world, we are working in different time zones. When we are working in different time zones, there are some meetings from hell because this amazing colleague in one part of the world cannot stay late. So set up a meeting like 4 p.m. in one part of the world. It's like midnight on the other side of the world. Can you be cognizant like it's late, midnight, they must be sleeping? Can I change the times? Think about it. They are human beings. Human beings means they are present. Treat them like human beings, not as resources. For me, this cup is a resource. Even this clicker is a resource. Just imagine, I'm calling you. Hey, resource, how are you doing? Hey, resource, good morning. Hey, resource, good evening. They are not resources, ladies and gentlemen. They are human beings. Treat them like human beings. And the next recommendation I have is self-care. Some of us are stuck in their home, not able to go out, so much negativity on the news of what's happening, different strains here and there. I was in one meeting, one of a couple of my colleagues, they said, Krishna, we've been in a couple of meetings, and one of the team member is trying to find an oxygen cylinder for his parents in India. This is true facts. This is what people are experiencing in the other part of the world. There is, they are experiencing in the other part of the world. And just imagine these people coming to meetings, what is going in their head? You need to take those things into consideration when you're setting those meetings. When person is going through some underlying challenges what they're having at home, can they function the same way they're functioning at work, like as if it's a regular day? Tell me, you tell me, can you work the same way if you have something underlying pain or a problem? Can you function the same way at work? Yes or no? Type it in the chat window, please. So what I would recommend is self-care. Self-care means prioritizing yourself, giving the extra love for yourself, even if it's a 15 minutes walk. Go out for a walk and teach the same thing with your team members, your employees. Because if the morale is good, if the underlying personal lives is better, if the health is better, they tend to do better at work. And there's nothing wrong, Tahira, you're spot on. There's nothing wrong to ask for help. If you get dismissed, maybe that's not the right person to work with. Maybe that's not the right person to work with. For conflicts, behaviors, and for everything, before you try to throw frameworks and tools, remember, these are all human beings. These are all human beings. On a note, these are some thoughts I have. Conflicts, dysfunctions are normal at work. It's okay. When you see a conflict, tell yourself it's okay. It's okay. The moments, oh, conflict, I can't be handling this. Even the perception you have towards conflict, if it's scared for you, you'll always be scared. If there's some conflict happening, you need to go in with the curiosity. Like kids when they go through the why phase. I have a couple of nieces, they at one point, even a nephew, they go through a why phase. Every question is a why is the sky blue, why is the cardboard brown? It's questions about why. You should be curious what is happening, because if you're able to mind them effectively, that can be the team's success. That'll be a great team versus a high performing team. It's your call whether you want to make great teams or even better than great teams. And for that, I got some few recommendations. First thing is, you have to be a good listener. So, what do you mean by a good listener? What do you mean by a good listener? Let me type this for you. Can you tell me what does that word mean? LOL. Laugh out loud. By the way, it's called levels of listening. So whenever you type the word, it's called levels of listening. Yes, Puneet, it's called levels of listening. Level one. Level one is when you go into meetings, a person is talking to you. And in your head, you're thinking, did I switch off the lights in the kitchen? Did this person send me the report? What am I going to have lunch? What am I going to prepare for dinner? So, how many of you had those thoughts in your head while some meetings are happening in front of you when the person is talking to you? Do we have those thoughts? Yes or no? Okay. Some of us do. That's called internal listening. That's called internal listening, where you have a little person come out and starts having that conversation. Level two listening, it's focused listening. It's all about the person in front of you. It's all about the person in front of you, listening to everything they say without even interrupting them. Level three, it's about global listening or environmental listening. You're listening to the words which have not been said. You're listening to the emotions. You're listening to the body language. That's global listening. For that, you need to be a damn good listener. And listening takes practice. It's so funny. Krishna, listen to everybody. Before the person can even speak, this person is asking questions. Allow people to finish the conversation. And the next thing is also learning how to ask those powerful questions. If I ask you a question, 5 plus 5, everyone can tell me it's 10. That's one option. If I give you question mark plus question mark equals 10, what does it tell you? You have multiple options. And God has given you 2 ears, 2 eyes. So for that, you need to be more observant and be aware about yourself and the others. It also comes with your EQ, your emotional intelligence, learning a bit more about yourself so that you can understand what you mean by social awareness and how you can manage with that data to build amazing relationships. Um, and also think, also try to create, why do we exist as your team? Why do we exist as a team? For that, we need a vision, a purpose. We call them as a North Star. Work with your team to create that, because that reduces conflicts. If two people are having a difference in opinion, you can ask, with respect to the goal of the sprint, with respect to the vision, what will help us? What is less painful for us to deliver? What will take us least amount of effort to deliver the same value? These are called powerful questions. You will be able to drive better conversations and create a working agreement, a social contract to understand what is good behaviors, bad behaviors. And some teams I worked with, they also practiced how to have a proper, meaningful conflict. As part of a retrospective, some teams, let's demo a conflict. How do you handle a conflict? They practice it. There's nothing wrong in doing a fake practice on conflicts. And as a facilitator, as a leader, as a coach, it's your responsibility to help your teams if there's a dysfunctions or conflicts or chaos, to bring the world together, so that you need to be neutral in everything. You're not taking sides. You're being neutral. You're not being judgmental. You've been curious. And again, comes back to you. It comes back to you. What are you going to do about with all the information? Some people, they read a book and they can do some amazing work. Some people, they go, I would recommend you to go and invest in your training. Some organizations, there are plenty of multiple organizations there who can do some amazing trainings. Go and invest in yourself. It's not about certifications. You don't even need to go for a certification. Just say, I'm coming here to learn. Certification is a byproduct of it. If you want to certify, that's a different story. Coming here to learn, that will be even more cheaper. There's nothing wrong in it. There's nothing wrong in it. So invest in yourself, because if you want to be a great facilitator or a great leader or a great coach, you need to learn how to handle conflicts and how to work with different personas. So what are your takeaways? Can you type it in the chat window, please? From the conversation you heard so far, what are your takeaways? Type it in the chat window, please. Conflicts does not have to be a bad thing. You speak very calmly. Activated the first level of listening. Mindful versus mindful. Okay. Stay focused on the teacher. Okay. Manage conflict gracefully. Facilitation techniques. Be a good listener. Ask powerful questions. This model, conflict is conflicting. Listen to team members. Just amazing how a complex topic can be understood so easily. Thank you. Conflict says this, let us handle properly, understand different personalities. Healthy conflicts are always beneficial. I like the idea of bringing conflicting scenarios in a retro. Conflict is not managed easily. This is a small business. Ooh. Facilitating with a dynamic that will get right results wherever you are. Invest in training. There's nothing wrong. Take some time, invest in yourself. All right, let me check the Q&A if we have any questions. By the way, there are different kinds of techniques which we have, or some of my coaches have documented. It's been uploaded on a LinkedIn page. So I would recommend you to follow the company. There is so much free content. My favorite quote, which I borrowed from my colleague, is steal shamelessly or borrow brilliance, whatever you like it. There's nothing wrong in something is working, lifting and shifting, trying it. There's nothing wrong in it. Follow the company and you will be able to see various content on, and you can download it for free. You can download it for free. Okay. My way or her way. Is there a specific to focus on a lesson learned or a direction to proceed forward with an advancement in the future? Okay, there are a couple of questions. We can hear you properly, Krishna. Okay. Let's see. How do we deal with cross-functional conflicts which are due to be system conflicts which is happening because of leaders and functions? Okay, Nidhi, great question. Some of the conflicts I've seen in organizations is because whenever you see a conflict is an event. Something happened because of an event, there is an outcome. Kaboom happened, that's an event. Under the events, if you dig carefully, you'll be able to see some trends or patterns. There will be some trends or patterns which is causing these kind of conflicts. Okay, dig deeper. So when you're digging deeper into these patterns or conflicts, there will be some different models or structures which has been in place 3 years or sometime in the past, because at that moment of time there was a process or a structure which has helped them to resolve something, and we keep on doing. And some of them can be redundant. You don't need them, some of the process or the structure. Let's look. I worked with an organization. They had from a CEO to a graduate in the team. They had 17 layers of leadership. 17. And one organization, there were more than 23. So when you have a different levels of hierarchy, does the decision making take place very quicker? Even the structure of the organization can cause unnecessary conflicts in the way teams are operating. So that can be one of the reasons. If you dig deeper into the structures, it also digs into the mental models of the people who created those structures. So yes, you can dig deeper to understand the genesis of the problem. There are different ways to do it. If you're coming for my enterprise training coaching bootcamp, I'll be more than happy to walk through in that. Okay. Raghavendra, I'm working with a customer who doesn't want to listen to me, and this is prioritized and you work on it. Just give me the efforts how to handle. I'm trying to understand the question. I'm working with a customer who doesn't want to listen to the team. You're working with a customer who doesn't want to listen with the team, and this is prioritized and you work. Okay, well, I have created a prioritized list, you work on it, and just give me the effort how to handle. Raghavendra, I'm really sorry. I tried to understand the question, but I couldn't. If you can drop me a note on an email, or if you want to catch up with me offline, I'll be more than happy to answer that. I didn't understand the question. If I did not understand, I might be giving you something completely wrong. I'm sorry. So reach out to me. I'll be more than happy. Okay. So what we have done so far is we explained about what is the why our conflicts started, what are the reasons behind the conflict as a facilitator, as a leader, as a coach? What are the things you can do to reduce or minimize those conflicts? Saying that conflicts are actually healthy. If you're going into a screaming competition, if you got two individuals are screaming at each other like WTF, 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 it doesn't work. So sometimes you need to bring them together. That's a different story. I'm not talking about those conflicts. They do happen. I've seen them. But as a facilitator, you need to have those skills to bring the worlds together. As part of it, I'm working as a trainer for Leadership Tribe as well. So as part of the training, we run some training programs. So one of them is for the development path for agile coaches or leaders. For you to be a leader or a coach, there are some few stages one has to go through. One has to be an amazing facilitator. So not only the facilitation skills, but also having the coaching skills. That's the agile coaching bootcamp we do. And if you want to learn more, there is nothing wrong in reaching out to us or dropping us a note to hello at Leadership Tribe. I believe these are the upcoming dates which we are having in June. So it'll be me and my colleague who will be co-training together. So I'll be more than happy to see you. So sometimes I do come as a guest speaker, or sometimes I even take half the class, depending on my availability. And one of the other training programs which we do is about the enterprise coaching bootcamp. Some of us are working at the team level, and some of us are working at the business unit, and some of us are working at the enterprise level. So they are different set of skills one needs to have to work at the enterprise level. So what would those be? We were talking about the organization structures, the mental models, trying to understand what does culture mean, how to bring the right culture for the organization. So we will be going through the topics in enterprise coaching and how do you coach the agile teams. So yes, we have the upcoming dates. Oh, we also have them in June. So I'll be more than happy to see you in the training program. And if you have any questions or any doubts, feel free to reach out to us on the details. These are the existing details. You can reach us to us in UK, US, or in even India, or drop us a note at hello at Leadership Tribe. I'll be more than happy to spend some time with you and learn from you as well. So let me do a quick time check. So we got 8 minutes to end. In that time, I want to give some of your time back. So you have a nice, lovely evening. Today is Saturday. Have a lovely weekend, and I'll be seeing you soon. See you guys. Have a lovely evening. Thanks, Rajesh, Sunil, Kapil, Manoj, Gabriel, Brendan, Manish, Sangeeta, Jason. It's lovely to have you all. Lovely to have you all. Lakshmi Reddy, Mukul, Prashant, Stephanie, Aaron, Ashutosh. Lovely ladies and gentlemen. Have a great weekend and speak to you all soon. Bye bye.